Talk about one of Brett Kavanaugh's so-called sexual assault victims coming out now, well after Brett Kavanaugh's already been confirmed, well after the whole process is over with, well after all the damage has been done. She wants to come out now and say that the whole thing was a lie. She's never met Brett Kavanaugh. She was never assaulted by Brett Kavanaugh. None of those things ever happened. Now, to back up a little bit to explain to you how we've gotten here, why it's important, let me explain. A woman by the name of Jane Doe, who we'll talk about a little bit later, her real name, Jane Doe sent a letter to Kamala Harris. The woman, Jane Doe, claimed to be from Oceanside, California. So Kamala Harris, you right there. She gets the letter and she forwards it to the Senate Judiciary Committee. I'm not really sure if this letter was used during the hearings to see whether Brett Kavanaugh be confirmed or not. All I know was about Christine Blasey Ford, which we all know because she was the only one that actually showed up. She probably was the only one that actually existed, but I digress. We all know that the whole thing with Christine Blasey Ford was false as well, because after the hearings were over, after Brett Kavanaugh gets confirmed, she says, oh, okay, I want to drop it. I don't want to pursue it anymore. So I'm just going to fade away, take my GoFundMe money, and walk off to the wilderness. That's pretty much how that is. There's no follow-up to say, well, is she telling the truth? Is she lying? Is she slandering? None of that happens. She gets a bag of money and walks off. But to get back to so-called Jane Doe from Oceanside, California, in the letter she sent to Kamala Harris with some very graphic things. And if you want to see more of those things, I'll place them in the box. But the gist of it is that Brett Kavanaugh took her home from a party one day and assaulted her numerous times. It was really, really detailed and graphic. Now, at a certain point, I don't know when, I don't know if it's during the hearings, after the hearings, or whatever, but at a certain point, the so-called Jane Doe comes out as Judy Munro-Leighton. She does not live in California or DC. She lives in Kentucky and is like 3 decades or more, right around then, older than Brett Kavanaugh. So it's not even possible. Okay, you talking about you being taken home from a party by Brett Kavanaugh. If he's 25 and you're 55, how does that make any sense? But for now, I digress. All that needed to happen was a little bit of digging, a little bit of investigation. You find out this is a left-wing activist, a never Trumper, a never Kavanaugh person, somebody that didn't like the whole situation and was angry and wanted to just attack Kavanaugh. That's what she said once it was revealed that she was lying. Now, she has been referred to the DOJ and the FBI. Hopefully, this old coot gets locked up, because how are you going to accuse a man of something so serious like that? This ain't nothing. You ain't talking about somebody that stole a candy bar from a grocery store or something like that. You're talking about this man is a rapist. He's some kind of sexual predator. Understand this. While the process of getting Brett Kavanaugh in office or getting him into the Supreme Court has now ended, the damage to his reputation, the damage to his name, his family's name has been done, and it's almost irreparable. People are going to believe what's put out there by the media regardless of what. It doesn't matter if I come out with a video right now and I show you a person who says that they were lying. They admitted to lying. All that it took was for her to reveal her name, a little bit of background, digging, and then here comes the FBI knocking. And she's like, oh, I'm sorry, I made it up. I was just angry. That's what's going on right now. You know, same thing with Christine Blasey Ford. Not quite to this extent, but after the whole thing was over, she dropped everything, said, I don't want to pursue it anymore. Why? I mean, you were going so gung-ho during the actual confirmation process, but now all of a sudden that it's over, you want to stop it. If it's about justice, if it's about getting, you know, having the right thing happen, why stop now? But again, I digress. This brings me to the whole point about so-called believe all women, believe all survivors, trust women. If we're to believe every woman, if we're to believe everyone that calls herself a survivor, then, I mean, what are we at that point? You got to have due process of law. Anybody could say anything about anybody. That doesn't mean that the person that's telling the truth or telling a lie. Get down to the bottom of what's happening. Get some information. Do an investigation before you just assume that a thing is true or false. That is what has to happen here. Unfortunately, in the case of Brett Kavanaugh, that wasn't really done. You have allegations thrown out there and people believe it right away. Now, someone tried to equate this to Bill Cosby, but there's so much evidence. I mean, there's nothing against Brett Kavanaugh. Bill Cosby has a mountain of evidence that's against him. Circumstantial, you got payoffs, you got him admitting on TV about certain things, you got him in deposition talking about, yeah, I gave women quaaludes, this, that, and the third. Okay, so we know that when the smoke there's fire with Bill Cosby, with Brett Kavanaugh, I mean, you had 100 women come on stage and defend this man. I've never seen anything like that in my life. Now, I'm not saying that they couldn't all be paid off or he couldn't still be guilty of a thing. I'm just saying it doesn't make any sense to try and accuse this man of a thing, especially when nobody's corroborating your story, even in the most so-called credible, which to me, in my opinion, was not credible, but to the media, many individuals out there, they'll say, oh, she's credible. Even for an individual like that, there were no corroborating witnesses. Her so-called bestie or whatever from that particular point in time says, I don't remember that. I never met Brett Kavanaugh. What are you talking about? Okay. So obviously there's a political agenda to all these things. You have one person that came out and said, yes, it was a political agenda. Yes, I was angry. Yes, I'm a left-wing activist. That's why I did that. And not even believable. Talking about you live in Oceanside, California, which you live in Kentucky, and you're decades older than this man. You were an old lady, probably somebody's great grandma, talking about you were sexually assaulted by Brett Kavanaugh when you were in your 50s. Come on, be for real. That made no sense. But this is what happens with politics nowadays. The left, they play very dirty, and the right, we're trying to defend ourselves. But then when the right tries to kick back a little bit, we get kicked back to them, but that's a different story, and I'll move on. I need to bring this out there just to try and help clear Brett Kavanaugh's name, all right? I've not seen any substantiated claims against him. I've seen evidence of fraud. I've seen evidence of political tampering. I've not seen any true evidence of Brett Kavanaugh being what the media has wanted to paint him as over the past few weeks and months. So what do you think? Do you think Brett Kavanaugh is still guilty as charged? Now, if you think that way, please explain to me why and what is he guilty of? I mean, where's the evidence? You have more evidence of it being some kind of conspiracy against him than you have evidence of him being some kind of sexual assaulter, predator, or whatever the case may be. Do you think that you're going to see more Me Too moments and he touched me, all this and that during the 2020 election? I didn't see it a whole lot during the midterms here. I saw it a little bit here and there throughout the mudslinging, but not quite much. But will there be more incidents like this, or has this whole movement kind of, it overstayed its welcome? For a long while, this was the rave. Every other day, somebody says, oh, this person touched me, that person touched me. But nowadays, you don't really hear that too much more. Whatever your thoughts are, please let me know in the comments below.